I feel that we have this moral imperative uh, from a business standpoint to preserve our markets. And so, as realtors, we are advisors. So we explain to our developers, we explain to our buyers, we explain to our sellers how to transact in a way that is most profitable for them, and how the code of ethics really demands that we understand the products we sell
Right.
and that we do a better job of representing these products.
Hello, this is Izumi Tanaka. I am a green realtor and host of this podcast, Home Green Homes. My guest today is Wayne Beals. He's a managing broker at Beals Group of Exit Strategy and fellow green realtor in Chicago. He has been selling real estate in Chicago for quite some time, working with developers to build sustainably designed and built homes in the low to moderate income neighborhoods. He shares his experience of selling these high-performing homes and how he achieves the competitive advantage for his client developers as well as for himself as a listing agent. I hope you enjoy this enlivened conversation I had with Wayne. And Wayne, I thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time and your presence. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And I first like to ask you what your background is and how you ended up in real estate business and how long ago it has been.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's
Mhm.
a pleasure to be on your program, and it's great to see you again. It was good to see you and your husband at the sustainability
Mhm.
conference in Austin
Yeah.
last year. Um, so my business, I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in an old house, and I probably watched too much This Old House in the 80s, right? And I lived in an old house with problems, and my dad was in the Merchant Marine, so he spent about 9 months a year out at sea. And
Wow.
was a Filipina lady who was kind of new to Chicago, right? So, and she didn't know how to fix an old house. And
Mm.
so I had to learn how to fix our house. And so I really learned how to plaster and just kind of do minor repairs and things from watching This Old House. And as I grew up, I had just an incredible appreciation for our buildings and our houses. And I went to college and I studied sports medicine. And I just kept coming back to real estate as
Mm.
something I wanted to do, and communities and house and what a house means to a family. And so for me, construction really revolves around the residential aspects of it.
Mm.
And because I came at it from old houses, I always felt like houses needed to be better,
Mm.
and we needed to understand them better and we needed to build them better because whenever it broke, it was something that was not right to begin with,
Mm.
or maybe something that was repaired incorrectly or were not repaired as best as it could have been. And
Right.
so when you learn from mistakes in construction, you start to understand that there is actually a right way to do things.
Mhm.
That's sort of how my career evolved.
Mhm.
That point. I became a realtor in 2003.
Mhm.
At the time, I was also a licensed general contractor in
Oh,
Chicago.
wow.
Around 2006, I did a geothermal renovation with a client that I thought was a really great client to have. And the recession hit and it just kind of went sideways for everybody. And so we kind of started over. Uh,
Mhm.
and right around 2013, one of my good friends, another developer, I was still a real estate broker at that time,
Mhm.
uh, wanted to build zero energy houses. And from that point on, we've just had a lot of fun ever since.
Mm. So is that in kind of like it sounds like you already had a really good sensitivities about how we occupied space and things like that, but was that your sort of a entry into sustainability space? How did
Um,
you ended up in that? That's what I'm really always curious about.
so I got there. Climate change is a concern of mine for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not a small concern. It's a pretty large concern.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say what drove me here was not that. What drove
Mm-hmm.
me here was the poverty that I saw around energy cost.
Mm,
When you look at the Chicagoland marketplace, if you live in an older, less maintained home,
mhm.
chances are you live in that house because you have less money and you can't afford a newer, more maintained home. And the consequence of living in that home is you spend more of your income on the fuel to keep that home warm in the summer. And most of those homes don't have air conditioning, and
Mhm,
we're in a warming climate, so our summers are very hot.
mhm.
So there's starting to be real community impacts around having real estate that isn't resilient for the current climate,
Right.
and the poverty that comes with that
Mm,
is sort of what drove me to try to to build more efficient buildings.
mhm, mhm. So now I know that you are in development, um, while you are also a licensed agent and broker. Um, are you doing more development currently, or is that your focus?
So personally, I limit what I do to sort of my personal assets. Like we have a place in Michigan, which is
Mm,
wonderful that we stay
mhm,
in. We've renovated. We have our own house that we've built. I haven't gotten back into development since, like personally, since
mm,
about 2006.
I see.
I do have lots of clients that are developers now,
I see.
some that I'm very close to and
Mm-hmm,
that I intend to be partners with,
mm-hmm.
but I have young kids right now, so development comes with risk.
Yes,
When you're
indeed.
investing money in real estate, you have to be able to afford the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, given where my three kids are in life, I choose to be a father and not be concerned about those things.
I
But
understand.
I think as soon as they grow up, I can't wait to get my
I
own buildings.
see. Yeah, but what I'm seeing from your post on LinkedIn is that you have quite a few projects that have been working on that are all, we're gonna call it just for the sake of, simplicity of the conversation, that you are working with developers who are building green buildings, correct?
That's right. That's right. I've become a specialist
Mm-hmm.
in all electric buildings here in the Midwest. Uh,
Mm,
what that means is the developers I work with
mm-hmm.
no longer bring gas lines to their buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that that is a moral imperative.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you do when you're standing in a ditch is you stop digging, is the old adage, right? And putting in gas lines in new construction homes to me is the opposite of progress. So we're just making the problem worse. We're adding another carbon fuel building.
Mm,
I feel very strongly that we need to move to um, cleaner housing, clean energy housing,
mhm,
and electricity is a fuel that we can make using renewable and nuclear sources, which
mhm,
don't contribute to global warming.
mhm,
And in our region here in the Chicagoland market, most of the energy we use is very clean from
mm,
nuclear or from wind power or solar
mm,
power.
mhm.
And you switch from a gas powered car to an electric car here, you've
Right.
solved your carbon contribution problem. If you switch from gas cooking to electric cooking here, you've solved your carbon problem.
Mhm,
If you switch from a gas furnace to a heat pump here, you've
mhm,
solved your carbon problem. And
mhm,
so I feel very strongly that electrification for us here in our region is really the key.
mhm,
Um, Other regions are looking at ways to make their grids less dirty so that
mhm.
they can electrification as a way of reducing their carbon footprint.
Right. Now, I'm very curious about how you got there, like to have a number of clients who are developers and who are willing to do that. Was that difficult for you to convince
Yep.
those developers, or were they already willing?
So the first one was very willing,
Mm-hmm.
like he led the charge. I
Mm-hmm.
actually a little concerned on our first project that I was sort of slightly nudging for, hey, maybe
Mm-hmm.
we should put a gas line in so we can have gas stoves. This is
Mm.
2015 before any of
Yeah.
this research came out, right? Because I was a little concerned about the marketability of the product. You never
Right.
your developer client who's taking a huge risk building a home on spec,
Mm-hmm.
not sell that home,
Yeah.
right? And at that time, I was not yet familiar with induction cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when the first home was built, I was amazed. It was a 0 degree day in February, and I was standing in a warm and toasty, brand new home in Chicago that was heated with a heat pump and
Uh-huh.
had production range. And, you know, I think my eyes opened quite a bit that day.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, I didn't ever doubt that builder again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That guy he understood certainly more than I did
Yeah.
about building, and I had a lot to learn from him. And number two, that this is what we should be doing. If we can do this, we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of the beginning of the end of my gas powered business.
Yeah. So how did you go from there to having multiple developer clients who are willing to do the
Yeah,
same
I
building
mean,
practice?
some people kind of they're inspired by what they see.
Mm-hmm.
They see that and they feel that they need to copy that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough all electric builders yet, but I'm still working,
Mm-hmm.
talking with
Mm-hmm.
lots of developers around the city.
Mm-hmm.
I only have two others that are really in that space. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they're early adopters, I would call them. They're
Yeah.
ahead of the curve. One of the benefits of being an early adopter is there is a learning curve to learning how to build this way.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's all in the design phase, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
plan the project right, the
Right.
cost is not significantly higher
Yeah.
and the outcome is significantly better.
Yeah.
So I encourage my developers to put more time into the design phase and let's
Right.
consider energy in the design phase.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I found that to be a way to kind of nudge them forward. But
Mm-hmm.
the honest truth is, a lot of them are responding to the competitive environment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if this one builder who I started working with in 2015, he has built 50 houses now in one neighborhood.
Wow.
If you come into that neighborhood with a non-high performance building,
Mm-hmm.
hitting against him,
Mm-hmm.
he has disrupted your business because
Yeah.
when you come to see my building, I
Right.
teach you all about why you want this building, and we talk about the benefits of a heat
Mm-hmm.
pump,
Mm-hmm.
the benefits of induction cooking, and the benefits of an ERV, and the
Mm-hmm.
airtight building. And then you go to the next new construction building 2 blocks away, and you ask that realtor, "Hey, is this building air sealed?" And they don't know what you're talking about. You're going to have a hard time selling that other building.
Right.
So we felt that it's been very effective at disrupting the way
Mm-hmm.
other builders approach their business.
Yeah. Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, like the comparison with your other realtors, like because my other question I had on my list was, what is our role as a realtor? And especially we as we call ourselves sustainability specialists or green realtors. Um, and my question was, what is our role in this, and how is the receptivity in the market, like when buyers come in and when you talk about those benefits? I mean, do they come in because they know that this home, like that you are have all these features, energy efficiency features, and we call green features? What is your experience in talking to the buyers or even other agents? Do you get any feedback or any pushback?
Yeah, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that if I were to put a number on it, about 30% of
Mm-hmm.
the showings I do
Mm-hmm.
are people that have done extensive research into our product and have become enthusiastic about it
Mm-hmm.
and really want a better built house. Right? They want a
Mm-hmm.
house. They don't want to buy a brand new 1987 Ford Taurus. They want
Mm-hmm.
a brand new Tesla, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, those buyers are very easy to sell
Right. You
because
don't have to even sell, right? You don't have to
we're
convince
sort of an
anything.
accidental monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not
Yeah.
a lot of doing this yet, and
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have a lot of competition. And once somebody has identified us as the benefits that we give them from a health perspective, from a
Mm-hmm.
quieter interior, healthier
Mm-hmm.
air quality, more
Mm-hmm.
comfort, lower utility, all these
Right.
benefits.
Right.
Once you've decided that's what you want,
Yeah.
then you're going to buy that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say to other builders out there is that if you want a competitive advantage, this is it,
Yeah.
right? This is a way you could put all those other builders out of business,
Right. Right.
uh, unless they unless they maybe learn this ahead of you and do this first, but you have. So I tell people being an early adopter
Yeah,
is critical in this space because it's about to get very competitive.
right.
The 70% of our buyers fall into a couple different categories. I would
Mm-hmm.
say half of those know nothing about construction, know
Mm-hmm.
nothing about build quality. They like our tile finishes, they like the kitchen, they like our countertops, they like our
Right.
location, they like the unit layout,
Yeah.
something about the building they like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's my job at that point to really educate them on our product.
Right.
And I would say most people, 9 out of 10, are very receptive to that education because they can't find it anywhere else, right? So when a
Mm-hmm.
realtor is willing to explain to them
Mm-hmm.
why you should want an ERV and why
Mm-hmm.
buildings should be airtight and
Mm-hmm.
why heat pumps are better than furnaces,
Mm-hmm.
induction cooking is better than gas cooking,
Mm-hmm.
if they're actually able to demonstrate that for them, they
Right.
respond positively.
Yeah.
The other half are people who maybe are not concerned at all about sustainability, right? So they're, this is the minority, this is maybe 30-40% of the market.
Right.
Uh, and they are not hearing, climate change as something.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do respond to is comfort, and what they
Uh-huh.
do respond to is quality
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I tell somebody, look, a polar vortex comes into Chicago, this house can actually keep you comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When we have a heat wave in Chicago, this house can keep you comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If your kids have allergies,
Mm-hmm.
ERV and airtight construction, so they're going to sleep in a building with less pollen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you explain the benefits on a health level to a person who
Mm-hmm.
maybe isn't as politically aligned with you,
Mm-hmm.
they want the house too. So
That's the challenge, right? That
that's the
last
hard
group is the challenge.
that's the hard sell. And I have found that we have had a couple of those buyers,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is interesting. It'd be like a pickup truck driver who rolled coal, with like the big smoke coming out of the tailpipe. It'd be like that person walking into a Tesla dealership and driving off.
Right.
Yeah. So, so it's I'm very proud of the fact that we've successfully converted some people. But
Right.
but I don't think that we've done anything necessarily different outside of explain to them the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of
Mm-hmm.
this kind of building. So
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you certify those properties that are
yes, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about certification. There's a lot of different certifications out there. There's
right? Mm-hmm.
Passive House, there's LEED. We were doing LEED for a long time, LEED for
Mm-hmm.
homes.
Yeah.
The buildings we were doing were platinum rated.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and we, LEED is good. I would say it's more for us anyway. It
Mm-hmm.
felt more scaled for the commercial markets.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt like there was a lot of administrative work
Yes.
through the
Yes.
process.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't change anything about our design, but now we do Department of Energy 0H.
Mm-hmm.
We have found to be less administratively challenging. You
Right.
still have the benefits of a third-party rater. You still have a
Right.
blower test.
Right.
Um, you don't know what a blower test is when they verify the air tightness of your building, how
Right.
air.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And the reason we do certification is twofold. One, to prove to the consumer that
Right.
this building performs as we say it is.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, to give us an assurance that we've built it to the standards that our subcontractors are following the same.
Right. Right.
And then actually, let me make that three. The third is the incentives. Here,
Mm-hmm.
our utility has a huge rebate for builders,
Mm-hmm.
$5,000 per unit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we only qualify for that with a third party certification.
Yeah.
And then their class 45L federal tax credit, which is another
Mm-hmm.
$5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also requires certification.
Right.
Uh, and then if you want to get any of the Inflation Reduction Act credits, those are going to require certification. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the cost offsetting of building this way versus a gas building, those
Mm-hmm.
incentives
Yeah.
require certification.
Now, do you find that gives you a premium in value when you put the properties on the market?
That is a complicated question.
Yeah.
So I would say the markets we operate in are low to moderate income markets.
Mm-hmm.
So the market only, because it's an affordable market,
Mm-hmm.
the market doesn't overpay,
I
right?
see.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so when you go to a higher end market, there will be
Mm-hmm.
a or for something that's limited in supply, and it would
Mm-hmm.
drive price up. So I think if we built this house in a high income community, I honestly think we would sell for a lot more than your average house in that community because
Mm, I
it's a
see.
scarce resource and those people have the capacity to pay more. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in our market area, we are doing urban infill, so we're filling in houses that were torn down
Mm-hmm.
um, from urban renewal programs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So were poorly informed decisions by local governments to tear down buildings,
Right.
replacing those buildings with new ones,
Mm-hmm.
and those communities are still in recovery from those urban renewal programs. So
Mm-hmm.
we do sell for a little bit more than our competitors,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say the reason this is a complicated answer is
Mm-hmm.
because our MLS does not have green fields. So when an appraiser comes in, most of our buyers obviously need financing. So when an
Yeah.
appraiser comes in to value the home, they don't necessarily uh, I have to hand them the green energy efficiency addendum. I have to hand them all those details. But when they
Mm-hmm.
the MLS to do their data and their
Yeah.
research, it's not parsed out for them. So the problem I run into is this problem of coattailing. So I don't know if you've ever
Mm-hmm.
where another developer comes and builds a gas powered house right behind us,
Mm-hmm.
tries to sell for the same price as us without all the green features.
Yeah.
And that annoys me.
Right. Oh
I mean,
my
it's
God.
funny because as a realtor, it makes my job easier, right? Because now
Yeah.
I can actually build off that comp on the next deal, and I can say, hey, well, this house sold for 600,000.
Yeah.
It had none of these features, so I'm now
Right.
worth 620. But I think there's an ethics problem there, right? So
Yeah.
I follow a code of ethics very strongly. Uh,
Yeah.
transparently help my clients and appraisers and everybody
Mm.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what I don't tolerate though is bad appraisals. So if you
Mm,
don't
yeah.
want to value
Right.
features, we are going to have a discussion with the underwriter. So
Yes. Oh my God. I didn't realize that your MLS doesn't have the green feature. That's a whole can of worm to discuss, but
it is no. So we
you
have
know.
a. I did this spreadsheet called "A Tale of Two Buildings" for. We
Mm.
have a nonprofit that helps us with some of these climate policy efforts,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
MRED, who's our local MLS here, not to if anybody from MRED is listening to this program, love you, but you need some green fields. We had some proposed fields
Uh-huh.
for MRED, and
Mm-hmm.
what I did is I went through and I took a gas powered comp that had coattailed us,
Mm-hmm.
our building, which were built literally two doors away from each other. They're the
Yeah.
same
Oh my God.
with fiberglass insulation, ours with engineered cellulose and foam, one with a gas powered furnace, ours with a heat pump, one with a gas range, ours with induction ranges. You get the
Yeah.
picture. One with
Yeah.
no ERV and no air sealing, one airtight with an ERV. And
Yeah.
and I made all the adjustments based on a
Mm-hmm.
cost basis on
Yeah.
and I showed the two comps and they closed for the same price.
Mm.
And I sent it to MRED because I said, look, this is the damage that's happening from not having these fields. We
Right.
need these fields because we need to help consumers protect themselves
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that are trying to get too much money for their places.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. I mean, my MLS has a green field, maybe a dozen or so different items that you can fill out, but you can't search by it. I
Hmm.
mean, what use is that, right?
That's
You
horrible.
can I know. I mean, this is just to say that, we have a long way to go with all the MLS around the country to have the green fields and be able to, agents or even buyers can search by the green field. That would be a next like, goal that all of us should be aiming for. But what is your personal vision for us being in this real estate field? as a green realtor, as a sustainability specialist, what do you think is our job from this point on? And what is our what we
Yeah.
have to do?
So I view, when you're in business, you have a few things, right? Like you're in business,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
So you want to make income, you want to make money, you want to be profitable. But we also have moral imperatives.
Hmm.
You know, I am very, very strongly convinced that in order let's just look at the business interest, right? In
Hmm.
order for us to have a functional marketplace of housing in 10 to 15 years, we really need to start considering sustainability in our business practice.
Yeah.
Because if we're producing products that are going to that are obsolete already, like when
Yeah.
you build a gas-powered home, it is already
Yeah.
obsolete. You just don't
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's an obsolete house. Um, the fact that we still allow that to happen is I would say dangerous to our real estate economy and is only creating more problems for the future.
Yeah.
It's literally creating a brand new building that's going to have to be renovated again in 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I I feel that we have this moral imperative uh, from a business standpoint to preserve our markets. And so, as realtors, we are advisors. So we explain to our developers, we explain to our buyers, we explain to our sellers how to transact in a way that is most profitable for them.
Hmm.
We give them the advice. Whether they take our advice or not is different, but we,
Hmm.
we owe them that advice. I loved, if you remember Craig's presentation at the sustainability summit we went
Hmm.
to, where he
Yes.
really brought this home into the code of ethics,
Yeah.
right? I feel like Craig Foley is a
Hmm. From Massachusetts.
yeah, and
Hmm.
a leader in our industry in Massachusetts.
Hmm.
He really did this fantastic presentation on how the code of ethics really demands that we understand the products we sell
Right.
and that we do a better job of representing these products. And
Hmm.
I feel like after seeing that, I was very inspired that somebody else shares this idea that we have a moral imperative to our clients to
Hmm.
let them know, hey, Mr. Seller, if you want to improve the value of your home and improve the marketability of your home, not only are we going to talk about the staging and making sure it's clean and making sure you have good lighting and making sure your doorknobs all match or whatever, um, we want to talk to you about the energy characteristics of your home and how those characteristics make your home appeal more to the buyer.
Hmm.
And when we work with developers, we certainly have to do that. Those people are in the middle of investing in the building. If we don't tell them about this opportunity, what kind of service are we doing them?
Right.
And then on the other side, on the buyer side, I want my buyers to understand what they're buying. If you're buying an obsolete house, I want you to know that you are buying
Hmm.
an obsolete house, just so you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And, at least they're doing something in an informed manner. And so
Hmm.
5, 10 years from now, when it comes time to change out that furnace for a heat pump, at least it wasn't a surprise to them.
Hmm.
It was something that they understood as wow. Wayne
Yeah.
had mentioned this during the process that this
Yeah.
furnace is already obsolete, but I didn't fully understand that, but now I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel that we have this moral imperative to do this as part of our business. I think a lot of realtors have chosen, at least for the time being, to not necessarily focus on it, and I I don't think they fully understand the consequences of that yet. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm hoping that the industry wakes up and says, hey, building science is very important.
Yeah.
We must understand the properties we sell, not just on a location level or school
Right.
district level or economic level,
Hmm.
just a physical build quality level. Like,
Yeah. I share that sentiment with you. And I'm really inspired by all the work you're doing. I'm really appreciative of the fact that you're developing in the low to moderate income area to provide good sustainable homes, and that provides the health and comfort and you know uh, efficiency. That's not what most real estate agents usually pursue, and so you
we
are.
like the underdog. We like the underdog at my office. I honestly like thank you for saying that. I mean, I think the thing I'll point out is that if we can do it in a
Mm-hmm.
low to moderate income climate,
Mm-hmm.
then buildings, new construction typically happens not in that space.
Yeah.
And so in the higher income world, in luxury world, I honestly don't know why the consumer doesn't demand our house at that point, right?
Yeah.
So we are pushing the education level. One of the strategies we have is to educate consumers on
Mm-hmm.
building science.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great source of buyers for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you want to buy a new construction house, Wayne will explain to you what's important about
Yeah.
buying, what to look for in a new construction
Right.
house. And that to me gives me a competitive advantage as a broker.
Sure.
And it forces the market to start to hear this. When
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
buyer comes into your $1 million house and here's the listing agent goes back to the client and says, they asked if you had a heat pump. They're both looking at what's a heat pump? Well, at least we started the conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They still end up buying that house, right?
Yeah.
And furnace dies replacing it with a heat pump,
Right. Yeah.
but at least we introduced that to the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Wayne. I have so many things that I want to talk to you about, but I think my time is running out. So I want to thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to staying in touch and keep learning from you, Wayne.
Well, I thank you for your time today. This was a lot of fun. Uh, and it certainly, if you guys find yourself in Chicago, hanging out, visiting,
Oh, I,
uh, I
oh,
can,
count on me. I'm coming.
we have the HVAC, a national HVAC convention here
Oh,
this week. And
oh,
so
really?
I have some
Okay.
folks from LG coming to one of our developments from the mother corporation, right, coming to
Uh-huh.
see a building looks
Oh,
like.
oh, that's great.
And Chicago, this is the eve of Cabo, or the clean and affordable buildings ordinance in Chicago, where
Mm.
may pass an ordinance
Wow.
that eliminates gas from new construction. And so if we get there, I will be a very happy person.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some cities in California that already did that. So it's definitely going in that direction, which I am happy about. But it's gonna take a little bit of our time and our effort. And you and I are part of that movement, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah. Izumi, thank you. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you so much, Wayne. And this was Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. Until the next episode.